This video shows how to do this cookie dough problem, and I was sent this in an email. And as with all videos, I've written a lot, so you probably want to pause the video several times during the video and read what's going on, think about it, maybe try it on your own before you proceed. The way the problem was written in the email was like this. There are two people, Shauna and Sumali, and by the way, if you're writing problems someday or making suggestions to a teacher writing problems, these are very bad names because they both begin with the same letter. So we can't abbreviate them like S and, if it were like Shauna and Jim, it would be S and J and we could abbreviate them, but they both begin with the same letter, so that's a problem. Then there's a second problem in the way it was written. Shauna buys 13 chocolate chip packages and 2 oatmeal packages for $188. Sumali, in the problem it says 8 chocolate chip and 1 chocolate chip. So that's got to be wrong. This has to be oatmeal. So in the problem as it was sent to me, that must be a mistake. So I'm going to assume that's supposed to be oatmeal. So Sumali buys 8 chocolate chip and 1 oatmeal for $112 total. And the question is, what's the cost of 1 bag of chocolate chips or 1 package of chocolate chips, and what's the cost of 1 oatmeal? I like the word price better because price helps you focus on the one, price per single one, and cost like an overall total. So I like to use the word price for the cost of 1 package and cost for the cost of all the packages. Just in general, it's nice. That gives you 2 different words to keep things straight. Okay, so that's the cost. How much does 1 chocolate chip package cost, and how much does 1 oatmeal package cost? Okay, the basic idea behind this, we can introduce that with an easy example. And here I'm using that word price. Let's say that you go to a restaurant where the price of 1 soda is $3. So we can say the price is $3 per soda. And you have some friends, so you buy 4 sodas. And the question is, how much money do you spend total? What's your total cost? And what kind of principle can we write for this? What kind of relationship? Okay, well, of course, the total cost, you buy 4 sodas and each one is $3. The total amount of money you spend, the total cost, is $12. Okay, let's write down the idea behind what you did. We said the $12 total cost was the number of items bought, which was 4, times the price per item, which is $3. So this is $12. And you bought 4 items, and the price is $3 per item. And maybe if I write the word item here, make this clear. Item on the top here, item on the bottom here, multiply, divide, go away, and you just wind up with dollars. So 4 times $3, you get $12. It all makes sense. Total cost, number of items bought, times the price per item. And in any problem, 2 of these might be something you can figure out, and one's an unknown. This might be the unknown, that might be the unknown. In the problem we're doing, that's the unknown, the price for 1. Notice that's singular, price per 1 item. That's what it means. That's the unknown in this problem, except there are 2 types of items, chocolate chip and oatmeal, and we want the price of each. That means we're going to have 2 variables. Okay, so let's go back with this in mind, go back to the original problem. The thing they want us to find, there's actually 2 things. The first is the price of 1 package of chocolate chips. We're going to call that C. The second is the price of oatmeal. We're going to call that T. Here's a third problem with the choice of words in this word problem. Oatmeal begins with an O, and so there's no easy way to abbreviate it. We can't say 3 packages of oatmeal and use an O because it looks like 30. So I just picked the first consonant, T. I'm going to call it oatmeal. So T stands for oatmeal package. Price of an oatmeal package is T. Price of a chocolate chip package is C. So keep that in mind. Okay, now let's look at Shauna. She buys 13 packages of chocolate chip. So that's the number of packages, 13. And 2 packages of oatmeal. So the number of packages of oatmeal is 2. So how would you describe, you may want to pause the video and not look at my answer. How would you describe the total amount of money she spends on packages of chocolate chip? Okay. Well, she buys 13 packages, and the price of each one is the unknown C. So we have to write that as an unknown. She spends 13 times C. 13 packages times C dollars per package for chocolate chips. And in the same way, she spends 2T on oatmeal. 2 packages times the price of oatmeal, which is T. And it says in the problem, if you add those 2 total costs together, the total she spent on chocolate chip plus the total she spent on oatmeal, you get $188. So that gives us our first equation. Okay? We can do the same thing for Sumo E and get that for her, since she has 8 packages of chocolate chip and 1 package of oatmeal, 8 times the price of chocolate chip plus 1 times the price of oatmeal for her equals $112. Okay, if that's enough, and you now know how to solve the problem because you can do the algebra, you just stop the video here and figure it out and see if you get the right answer. Okay, but let's say you don't know. Let's say you're not sure how to deal with this. How do you solve a problem with 2 unknowns, 2 variables, C and T, and you have 2 equations? Okay, these are called a system of equations when you have more than one equation and more than one unknown variable. System of equations. I was taught to call them simultaneous equations because it's 2 or more equations that are simultaneously true and related to each other. This T means the same thing in both equations, that C means the same thing in both equations. All right, there are 2 basic ways to solve this. We'll look at method 1 first, which is the substitution method. And in that method, you take one of the equations and solve it for one of the letters and plug that expression in for that letter in the other equation. Since this equation has a single t, I'm going to start with that one. I'm going to solve it for t, and I get 112 minus 8c. Solve it for t means get that letter by itself on one side. So I solved this one for t, and now I'm going to take that and use it in the second one. So in other words, wherever I see the letter T in the second one, I can replace it with 112 minus C. That's the substitution method. And you see, I see a T here. So I'm going to take 112 minus 8C and replace that T with 112 minus 8C. And that creates this equation, 13C plus 2. Now when you do a substitution, you should never just kind of plug it in kind of in your head and make a guess, because you might wind up writing 224 minus 8c. Like you only apply that 2 to the first number. So I recommend when you do substitutions, your first step is to replace the letter with empty parentheses, and then your second step is to insert that into the empty parentheses. 112 minus 8c equals 188. Now you have a single equation, one equation with one letter in it, and the rest is algebra 1. 13c plus 224 minus 16c equals 188. And if you rearrange some things, you get 3c equals 36, and you get c equals 12. So that's the price of a bag of chocolate chips. You put that back up into here to find out what t is. Okay, so 8 times 12 plus t equals 112. You could actually use either one of these equations. I'm going to use this one because it's only got a single t. It's easier to do. Okay, that's 96, so I get t equals 112 minus 96. That equals 16, so the price of a bag of oatmeal is $16. You could check these numbers, the 12 and 16, by plugging them back in these equations, and you'll see that they work. All right, I said there were 2 basic ways to solve system of equations, so we'll look at the second way, method 2. I've heard this called the elimination method. Okay, and we'll write 8c plus t equals 112 and 13c plus 2t equals 188. And in this method, you pick one of the letters and you try to get that letter. You make it so that that letter has the same coefficient in both equations, and if both coefficients are positive, you subtract one equation from the other. If one of them is negative, you add the equations together, and it eliminates a variable. It makes a variable go away. So notice t is going to be easier. That's 8 and 13. It's hard to get those coefficients to match. I'd have to multiply that by 13 and that by 8. But here, look, that's t and 2t. So what I can do is multiply the entire equation on top by the number 2. I'll write it down here. 2 times 8c is 16c, 2 times t is 2t, and 2 times 112 is 224. And now I cross that one out because I replaced it with this orange one. And now look at these 2. There's 2t in both of them. So what I do is I subtract one minus the other. That's bigger than, 224 is bigger than 188, 16c is bigger than 13c. So what I'm going to do is write the bigger one on top, one with these bigger numbers on top, and the one with the smaller numbers on the bottom. Okay, so with that one on top, And I write that one on the bottom. And then I subtract one equation from another. Just left side minus the left side, right side of the top one minus right side of the bottom. That goes away. That's why I did it. That's why they match the two. So when I subtract, there's no t anymore. 16c minus 13c is 3c. And over here, that equals 36. And I get the same result I got before. C equals 12. That's $12 per package. That's the cost of a bag of chocolate chips. If I go back and do the same thing I did before, plug it in up here and solve for t, I get t equals $16 per package for the oatmeal.